Hey everybody, this is Robot here, Vespa Motorsport, scooterwest.com here in San Diego. Right here I got a 2017 Vespa GTS 300 Super and a 2018 Vespa GTS. The difference between these two bikes is mostly styling, but the GT200, the 300 Super just has a grab rail, while the GTS has a folding rack. Because what I'm going to talk about today is how to put the top case onto these scooters. A very popular option is the color matched original Vespa top case for these scooters. There's quite a few variations, so if you're ever interested in purchasing one of these top case, probably best to give our sales guys a call here in Parts, 619-280-1718, extension 602, and they can help find the color matched top case along with the match backrest pad that matches your seat. Like I said, there's a lot of variations for the original Vespa top cases, so it's best to call those in, and we tend to stock most of those at any given time. But I'm going to go over how to install it both on this folding rack and how to replace this grab handle with the flat rack and install the top case on the flat rack. All right, so here's the box. Original Vespa 35-liter top case that fits the Vespa 200s all the way up to the 300 GTS range of scooters. And I'm going to show you what's included with the top case itself. So you got the top case. You got to take care to unpack these very carefully because you got to keep in mind the whole entire thing is painted. So here's the top case itself. This is the newer style top case that they introduced in 2014. The prior year top cases had red reflectors in them. The newer series, they got rid of that and kind of streamlined the look of the top case. Attached to the top case is a pair of keys. Again, they got the Vespa insignia on the black key. Unfortunately, it's very difficult to match the key from your ignition to the lock. It used to be a service I offered. I would repin the locks, but unfortunately they changed the pattern of how the key is on many of the newer locks. Included with the top case is the backrest pad. This one is the tan backrest pad. That's for, this would be ideal for the Vespa GTS. I think for last year, they had a tan backrest pad and in the gloss black finish. And again, it's best to call us to figure out exactly what you need to fit your scooter. The backrest pad isn't attached. On the bottom of the top case is the various points for mounting it to either the flat rack or the folding rack. I'm going to start by installing this on the folding rack. I know this top case doesn't match this new 2018 metallic tan color, but I just want to go through the steps on how to install it. And before you start installation, you're going to need the hardware kit that's included with the top case, and that's located underneath the cardboard flap. So this is the complete hardware kit. It's going to include much more hardware than you're going to need for your installation because this is a universal kit that allows you to install this top case on everything from the old GT200s that had a plastic rack to the flat rack and also the folding rack as we're going to do first. So located in this bag is 2 bar end weights, and when you put a top case on the scooter, they tend to want to have a little bit more oscillation of the handlebars, and the extra weight kind of doesn't necessarily minimize it, but reduces it slightly and also isolates some vibration the more weight you add to your handlebar. So it includes larger weights, a couple hardware bags. This hardware bag includes the hardware for installation on both the flat rack and the Vespa GT200. These 2 longer bolts, Allen bolts, are going to be for your bar ends. So you can separate those. You're going to need those regardless. For the flat rack, you're going to use the long screw, this washer, and the nylock nut. For the GT200, you're going to use that tang and the other shim washer. The instructions are in multiple languages. They would cover how to install this on the GT200. I'm not going to go over that because that scooter has been long discontinued. Not too many people ordering these for the GT200. For installation of your backrest pad, includes self-tapping screws and rubber bumps. The rubber bumps protect your helmet when you have it in the top case, because otherwise those metal screws would make contact to your helmet inside the top case. And I'll show how to install that. For the folding rack, there's much more hardware involved. Includes instructions. And I'm going to go over the steps. It's going to be hopefully my instructions, video instructions, will be a lot easier to follow than these silly Xerox things in multiple languages. They're pretty difficult to follow. And I'll show you what's included with. So you got an upper and lower plate. These hold the folding rack down in the down position and allow for 2 of the 4 mounting points on the top case. To mount that plate, you're going to need these 3 Tinnerman clips. There's going to be 3 screws that do not have a shoulder, and the 3 spring washers right there. The rest of the hardware is used on the case itself for mounting the case to the rack itself here. So first of all, when installing this on the folding rack found on the Vespa GTS series scooters or the GTV, you're going to want to prepare this part for the for bolting it down onto the rack. So you can see there's an upper and lower piece. The lower piece has larger holes in it, and you want to push these clips onto the onto these 3 slots right here, and they'll push right in. And that's where you want to start. So for the folding rack, Piaggio includes a hold down clamp that will hold the rack down or up. We're not going to use this piece, so you just remove it. And you're also going to remove these plastic pieces there. And one more thing is, before you mount the top case, you're going to need to remove these little plugs. And the easiest way is with some real sharp diagonal pliers, or carefully with a knife. They can be carefully levered out. The problem with these is they are chromed. They have a chrome coating, and you just want to kind of just carefully lever them out of the holes. See how I'm just kind of working it? You want to repeat with the one on the left side as well. 2 ways to go about this. You can either hold the rack down with a zip tie or a bungee cord, or you can just use your arm to hold this down. You want to center this piece that you install the clips on onto that bottom part, and you kind of want to reference it between these springs. Make sure it's centered. You know, there's a little bit of give back and forth, but you can kind of get it pretty close there. And then you drop the upper piece on, and sometimes alignment is not all that good. But you want to get all the screws started. Keep in mind putting the spring washer right there. And, you know, I've done a lot of these over the years, but you kind of just position everything, get the screws started. And I'm going to cheat. Got my electric screwdriver. Number 3 screwdriver, if you're doing this at home, it's going to work much better than the regular number 2 size screwdriver. Again, I'm holding the rack down. Kind of get those started, and now there's enough to kind of hold the rack down on its own. And just kind of evenly tighten these down. I have the clutch set where it snugs those down pretty good. Now the rack's permanently set down. So if you're going to install the top case on a folding rack, there's going to be 4 locations that need to be drilled out. If you're installing the top case on a flat rack or the GT200, it already has a single location drilled out. You don't want to drill them any larger than 5/16 or 8 millimeters. This is a step drill bit, so the third one is about 5/16. And you kind of just start in the center. And the same with those. Try to stay centered in the holes. And for these ones, you want to make sure they're large enough just to fit these metal dowels on these front ones. Now just go a little bit larger with these step bits. And sometimes you might need to tap them into place, or you can go up from the bottom as well. There we go. Yeah, as what I've noticed is the holes are a little bit tapered. So yeah, it works a little better to go from the bottom sometimes. Or you could just open the hole up a little bit more. Now the top case is pretty much prepared to install. And I'll get all the hardware here that we need. So again, this is all the hardware you're gonna need to mount the top case. You can just leave it in here, makes it nice and easy. So before you install the top case on the rack, they have this last little plastic thing. And I found I just leave this. The other option is to remove this, and you can use this rubber pad that has self-adhesive strip on it, and you can put that right on the back side of your top case. And that just stabilizes the top case. But I've found that the plastic thing that's already here, whatever you want to call that, little snap-in, little anti-rattle clip, does the job just fine as well. So kind of want to support the top case, keep it centered, and it's got a hook underneath here that kind of just starts the hook over the rack. It doesn't push any further, and you want to reference the two rear mounting points on the inside. So in here you see the two holes that we pried the chrome caps out of, and usually these are the two I want to start installation of. And I'll get everything hand tight first, because not everything always wants to line up with these top cases. So there's those two. Just go a little bit further. I'm gonna leave them loose, and you want to sight these down, make sure they're all the way through. If there's any plastic in the way, you may want to chase this hole with a drill. Keep in mind that you got the metal inserts that I put in the previous step. The idea is you want these to drop right through. And see how that one's being a little stubborn, but it's good enough. Next, you want to take these flat nuts right here, and underneath there's a spot for this flat nut right here. And again, you kind of gotta kind of hold them in place while you start to screw. So like I said, I'm leaving everything loose, and I'm going to do the same here. There we go. And now that it caught the well nut, you can see the threads coming through. So I have all 4 screws started inside the top case, and I'll start with the rear, and you can go all the way down and seat those. And you can snug those pretty tight, you know, holding the top case. These ones in the front, I found if they're over tightened, you'll end up breaking the bottom of the top case out. So watch this plastic right here. Right when it just starts to go down, you see how it just went down just a little bit? I'll go back at, you can just barely see. Right when the plastic starts to pull, that's when you want to stop tightening that screw. There's not necessarily a torque, but it's right about there. You can see it just pulling it down. And the idea is the metal spacer also prevents the bottom of your top case from collapsing. So the 2 Nylock 6mm nuts are there to secure those front bolts. And you could thread them underneath the, yeah, and of course they're not going to hand tighten since they have a nylon locking insert down. But ideally, you would hold the screw from loosening on the top, and you could thread this all the way until it stops. And that's just a preventive measure to keep the top case from rattling off the case. And again, you don't need to tighten this too tight. You need to do the same with the other side. So this top case pad has 2 locator holes right up here, kind of underneath the upholstery fabric right there, and it lines up with these 2 pegs on the top case itself. And I don't want to get any grease on this tan top case pad. And again, there's various top case pads that match the different colors. So I'm going to hold that in place. And you want to prepare the screws with one of the washers. Maybe I didn't pick the best order to do this, and then pop the screw with the washer through the little rubber piece. I set the torque on my electric screwdriver to the very lowest setting. This is something you normally just want to hand tighten. And there you go. See how it even went a little bit tighter than it should? It kind of smushed the rubber a little bit. So included with the top case is those heavier bar end weights. You want to take a number 4 or 4mm Allen and put your hand on the old bar end and turn the bar end as you're unscrewing the Allen screw. I found if you don't do that, oftentimes you'll strip out the Allen head itself. And the reason being is they put a lot of adhesive. That's the grip adhesive that's kind of holding everything in place. And swap your Allen key over to a 5mm because these include a larger 5mm Allen. It's also optional. You can put a little bit of Loctite on the threads of the bar end. I found if they're tightened, they never seem to come loose. So repeat that with both sides and you'll have the larger bar ends that are included with your top case kit. Keep in mind we do have these bar ends also available in black. We have a bar end kit that fits the Sprint and Primavera as well. Nice thing is they're both identical, both left and right sides. And important, whenever you put a bar end replacement on your right grip, make sure your grip still returns. If not, you may need to shim the bar end with some washers. All right, to install a top case on the Super model, you're going to need to replace this grab handle with a flat rack. So part number on this flat rack is GTS 29PA, and we also have it available in a black finish as well. So oftentimes with the Super finish, the Super range of Vespas, the black sometimes will match a little bit better than a chrome finish bar. So you pull the grab rail out, or flat rack, and pretty much includes nothing because all the hardware that's needed to install the top case on this Super is included with the top case kit. It is also possible just to install this rack without, without a top case, or you could put a Givi or a Shad top case, a different brand top case on it. Also keep in mind the smaller top case that fits the Primavera Sprints, Vespa ETs, LXs, all those, they'll fit this rack as well. All right, start with the number 2 Phillips. Remove this plastic chrome Vespa cover in the back. It's a single screw. Take care not to slip with your screwdriver. Put a big scratch across your paint. The screwdriver is magnetic, so I was able to retrieve the screw pretty easily. And set that aside. And next, you're going to need a 5mm Allen. And this is a ball style Allen, makes it a little easier sometimes. Able to flex, just showing you different tools I got. So I'm gonna go ahead and loosen those. It makes it a little easier if you just take these all the way out. It's possible to do it without, but then you're gonna need to exchange for a T30 Torex. Start with the back 2 fasteners. Again, take care not to slip. If you slip, you're going to be damaging your paint. Save those 2 screws because they're going to be reused. Same goes here. And before you remove the last fastener, you want to put your hand on the grab rail because it's likely to go sliding down the back of your scooter if you're not watching. So I went ahead and slid that out of the way. I'm going to take my flat rack and lift here and carefully slide the new rack right into place. And I'm not really sighting the hole, but I got it. There we go. Be extra careful when doing this. I tend to just want to install all the fasteners and not tighten them on the initial, make sure they go in straight. Again, if you're not familiar using power tools, I would just recommend using hand drivers. The one thing with power tools is you tend to have less feel for the fasteners. You know, if it's going in crooked, it's going to be, it's going to damage the inserts that are in the frame. One thing with this power driver is it doesn't quite fit in there, so I'll put an extension, or I'll just use a standard little Allen fastener that would do the same thing just as well. So now that both those are in there, set my clutch up there. If you're really picky about wanting to torque these, you can torque them about 7 foot-pounds. Kind of have a feel for it. So those 2 first, and then go back here. Again, around 7 foot-pounds if you're going to get a torque wrench out. Go back to your 5mm Allen. Drop these 2 in. And now the rack is all tidy. The small chrome cover that normally goes right here, you can reinstall that if you like to cover up those screws. And I found sometimes the screw is not quite long enough but I think we'll be okay here. I think that's on the Primavera racks or something. There's something, a deal with the screw. So, and we have that little cover available in black as well. So if you're replacing a black rack, you can order this cover in gloss black finish as well. So before you install the top case on the flat rack, you got to make one Gorilla style modification. These 2 pegs that are normally used on the folding rack, they're actually in the way of the center bar on the fixed rack. I've seen people take little cut-off wheels. I've taken a little, I have a little body saw that I use sometimes. But I found the easiest way to do it is just to take a large pair of the diagonals and cut them off. You'll never see it under here. I've never ever had a problem just cutting them right out of the way. It's the quickest way. Why spend 15 minutes like messing around? So I'm going to make cuts on all these little gussets right here. Here, here, here. And get them out of the way. The diagonals cut right through this plastic with ease here. And the fun part is cutting this peg off here. You kind of got to nibble at it. And we're almost through. And you don't need to cut it flush. It just needs, most of it needs to be removed. And see how it's pretty nice. I mean, it looks pretty good for something you have to trim out of the way, just by using simple diagonal pliers. So now that those are cut out of the way, we'll get right over to the scooter. Before I put on, these 2 tangs engage with the 2 fingers on the very front lower part of the top case, and this is the mounting screw boss right here. So very, very simple. You just aim those 2 dealies right there, and you sight the center fastener, and that's it. Make sure it goes straight down. You see how there's a little bit of fighting there? If you don't go straight into the boss, you're going to end up cross-threading the screw. And again, don't over tighten the screw because you will blow out the bottom of the top case. And the last step is you could put the nut that secures this single screw right here. Many of our customers, they miss the older style top case with the lenses in both the left and right side. The main reason is there was an Add More Light kit. That's a brand that makes lighting kits for many different top cases. They had a light kit that installed LED strips in both of those lenses that added extra tail light, brake light, and turn signal functionality to the top case. Unfortunately, that top case is no longer produced. If you watch the previous video that we did about a week ago of a highly customized black and chrome Vespa, we used one of the older top cases and it had that light kit in it. An ideal solution is to install one of the Add More lighting light bars. They have this light bar available both with a clear lens and a tinted lens. And there's the tinted lens. And it looks pretty sexy under here and will add quite a bit of safety to your scooter by having these extra LED lighting. The LEDs found in these light bars they make are much brighter than those the top case kit. Again, it adds all the same functionality, extra brake light that modulates, extra tail light, and turn signals. They're a very clever design. I've tried out lots of different light bars, and I found the light bars made by Add More Lighting are much better than any other brand. They're a little bit more expensive, but the quality is very high. The electronic circuitry is very well built, and they're very, very bright. I think it's worth spending a little bit extra money if you're going to go through the hassle to install one of these kits. Our part number on this light bar kit is MI99, and we'll also have the smoke one, MI99-SM, I think it is. The Add More Lighting part number on this is LED 5420-SMT-TS, and it's the light bar kit that's pretty easy to install on the top case of these scooters here.